Welcome back to Breakfast from Bahrain. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're brought to you by Babbitttville Radio. Our next guest, 2012 Ironman World Champion, and one of our favorite people on the planet, Mr. Pete Jacobs. Pete, how the hell are you?
Pretty good, pretty cruisy. You know, it's about 9 o'clock in Sydney or 10 o'clock in Sydney. Or not in Sydney anymore. I'm in Queensland now. Yeah. So at night there. So getting a little bit tired and ready for an afternoon nap.
Okay. So Pete, seeing Sebastian here, and he just won Ironman World Championships. And the hard part about, your goal in life is to win that.
Yeah.
You win it, then what? Was that hard for you after winning it in 2012? After you see the second year before, so the whole time you're probably thinking, okay, I'm going to win it this year, I'm going to win it this year, and then you win it.
Yeah.
And then how do you deal with that?
I think it was easier to deal with it this year because I got used to it last year. So two bad years, so you start to go, yeah, look, we can write 2 bad years off, but I better get a bit right next year. It's 3 years in a row bad is, really starting to form a pattern. So after having so many good years there and then have 2 bad years, but I know what went wrong and I know why I didn't. And
what went wrong?
Just training, just not the right training. The whole year kind of was defined by a few big sessions that put me in a hole. So I did it early in the year, a race, and then big training, and vice versa. And just a couple of big days, followed by another couple of big days, and that just put me in a hole a couple of times. Did it early in the year, and then I thought I was building up really well for Hawaii this year. Some good training with a couple of friends in early August, and then felt good at Sunshine Coast 70.3 under heavy load of training. I got third and ran quite within myself, held back. And then, it was probably, I think it was about a week later or so, and we did a big session. I got dragged out with a few friends and thought it'd be good for me, but that session just probably set me back for the race. And, the last 3 weeks of training, I barely trained and had no motivation. I didn't have the energy. And so that was quite frustrating to go for probably 5-6 weeks of feeling really motivated, really good, to suddenly the last 3 weeks I was like, I've got no feeling. And Amanda Lallam, who's a great journalist in Sydney, said, and she's followed the sport for a long, long time, and she said most athletes know how they're feeling. So deep down in your heart, what is your gut feeling about how the race is going to go? And this was just over a week out, about a week and a half out, and I said, at the moment I've got no feeling at all. I said, I couldn't tell you, I don't have that look, I think I can win it right now, because I said that's probably because I'm still tired from that big session I did, and I think in the next week I will freshen up now that I'm resting. But basically I just never freshened up to that point where I was like eyes on the prize, ready to go for it. So I kind of knew. So it wasn't a great surprise on race day. Certainly a disappointment, but the whole year has been a bit of a train wreck with those kind of fluctuations. So I've learned a lot, and I think next year is going to be a lot more fun in terms of don't need to do those big sessions that I didn't do them in 2012, so I don't need to do them again now, and I don't need to get carried away and do more, so.
Do you think, I remember Karen Smyers, the 95 champion, said it's better to be 10% undertrained and 1% overtrained. She was always a proponent of doing less.
Yeah.
And if you look at the success that some of the, Olympic distance athletes have when they come over to the longer distance, it seems like speed is sometimes maybe even more important than putting in those long days. Are you at a point where you sort of have to reevaluate the way you train for the iron distance race? Because you've done so many of them. Yeah. There has to be a point of almost diminishing return when you do that many races.
That is exactly spot on. I mean, I went into Kona saying to those that asked, and I was like, I have the endurance, but my fitness is not great. And, but they're on race day. In the heat, your heart rate's that much higher, so you need to be fitter.
Right.
For the accelerations of that pack on the bike, you need to be fitter. And then just to run at that sort of 75% of your ability for the 42Ks, you need fitness in the heat.
Right.
And yeah, huge lesson learned. So I'm definitely going to go back and evaluate what I was doing and not doing. And yeah, get rid of a bunch of hours of training, cut it down a heap, and just get back to shorter sessions with some solid efforts just to get fit, my fitness up. You know, naturally I'm a good endurance athlete. So I definitely went down a different path this year and, you know, went for some endurance and, you know, and it definitely was not the right thing for me. And, yeah, so I'm looking forward to next year. That all it does is making a mistake like that just makes me look more forward to next year about trying something different again or going back to a bit of what I used to do, and the opportunities and, you know, potentially the shape I could get in and different sort of training, and it means it's more fun, change it up. I'm going to have more hours in my day to do other things and, you know, just that sort of stuff.
How important is it, because you look at Marinda Carfrae with Siri Lindley, and you can sort of connect athletes with their coaches, right? And to me, having a coach means a lot of times you don't have to think as much, right? Yeah. Somebody who knows you almost better than you know you, and you get the email with your workout, you put it in your phone or whatever, and you go do it. Yeah. Is it hard to be self-coached? Because that's, to me, is, you know, I'm sure there's days you wake up going, I'm tired, I probably shouldn't train, but I also should be training, where you have to have that discussion where if you're just getting an email from somebody, you just go and do it. Yeah,
I mean, I know that I still wouldn't like to do that, just because I know my threshold of what I can do is so much lower than most people.
Right.
I know when I do need a rest day, you know, but I do need a plan and a self-written plan. But I'm chatting with a few other friends and formulating something that basically, my plan is to have a set thing that I do week in, week out. It's almost the exact same routine. It may just get a little bit longer in some of the sessions throughout the year, but something I'm very comfortable with, that I'm never going over the edge like I did this year. That is my one thing. I'm just, stay 10% under all the time. Just never go to the edge where I'm going to fall in a hole for another month or so. So, you know, I'm already looked at that and already can see, you know, how my week is going to be structured, with some different sessions in there as well for a bit of fun. And also, you know, it's what the marathon runners used to do. You know, some of the great Aussie marathon runners, and Robert De Castella and Steve Monaghetti, you know, they did the same thing week in, week out, and they loved it and it worked for them. And, you know, I've done similar sort of thing before. When I won, it was pretty similar. I did ramp up a little bit each week, which I want to avoid, because it's those last big week before a rest week that, you know, if I do too much, it's not 1 week off, it's a few weeks in a hole. So, just try and keep it pretty consistent week in, week out without ever overdoing it. And I know that my natural ability will slowly adapt enough. You know, adaptation doesn't need to be huge one day, and then, you know, I just want a little bit each day over consistency of the whole year, and you know, I know that that's all I need to do.
When I look at your career, that's the one thing you see a ton of is consistency, right? Your consistency of performances of, you know, second, kind of just a lot of top performances across the board. When you look at this race in particular, and you've got challenge athletes, you know, guys who've done the challenge series, you've got Olympic athletes, you've got a really interesting mix here at a half distance. You've got long distance people, short distance people, and people who focus on this all coming together. Yeah. Do you look forward to that type of challenge?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I believe that I'm good at this distance. I believe that it's...
well, you've proven you're good at this.
You know, Ironman is really tough. The full distance kills me. You know, the end of the marathon, my legs are shot every single time. Every time. And, you know, I like to go fast. And I think I've got some good run speed that I don't really show very often at all. Right. And, you know, I'd love to get in really good shape and race, you know, here in Challenge Bahrain really fast. You know, it's not going to happen this year, just coming off the back of a bad year, you know, and the last month hasn't felt good either. And, you know, I'm just ready for a pretty solid break after this before I build up into things next year. But I think the half definitely suits the shorter course guy's better. It's closer to
Yes.
short course than it is to long course.
Nutrition doesn't enter.
I mean, you can get through a half basically on no nutrition, and you just go flat out red line it the whole way, and you can be fine on a little bit of caffeine,
Exactly.
So yeah, it's really exciting to be part of this race. I'll probably be a bit of a spectator, but I'm still.
But a fast spectator.
Yeah, and I'm still hoping that I can be fighting for a top 10 finish. And I want to be in the fight, which would just be exciting. That's what I get enjoyment out of, being in the fight for that. So yeah, top 10 I'd be stoked with here, and it's the last race of the season. I just want to have a chance just to push myself a bit and hurt myself a bit. That's what I live for. I live for the pain.
So when you look at where the sport is now, right, with a race here with $500,000 in prize purse, right, which didn't exist a year ago. So you're basically adding, it's 100,000 for men, 100,000 for women, $500,000 in prize purse, and it sounds like there's more to come. Are you optimistic about what's happening in the sport of triathlon now?
Yeah, I'm pretty optimistic. I think it's definitely amazing to have more races with bigger prize money. I think in the past, an athlete's wage might be made up of a third sponsorship, a third prize money,
Yes.
and a third from race appearances and those sort of contracts. But yeah, if prize money can sort of nudge ahead on that balance sheet a bit, then it does make it a little bit more exciting to go to a race and rather than you don't have to focus so much on the other stuff as much. So it pretty optimistic about how it can change the sport, how it can raise the income of the top professionals, and therefore raise our standing and our professionalism and our elite status that little bit more, and then you earn a bit more respect from other sports, from the age groupers that watch it, because they see that it's a professional job, it's a career where you make good money, and obviously with the more prize money, people assume that there's more sacrifice in it. They probably see if you're racing for $1,000, they probably think you should have a part-time job on the side. Whereas, yeah, some of them do. But the sacrifices that go into being a professional triathlete are just immense. It's a 24/7 job, probably 50 weeks of the year.
Well, you're an entrepreneur, you're a social media expert, you're a marketing guy.
Yeah.
The days of just going out and racing are way past.
Yeah, exactly. It's and you got to be looking after yourself, every minute of every day, and you sacrifice a lot of time with friends and family, and you don't get holidays and time out very often. So yeah, I don't think people really don't understand the sacrifice mentally, what goes into being a professional athlete, and I think just giving more prize money definitely just helps us with that elite status a little bit. Yeah, it does. It validates what we're doing, why we're doing it, to the public as well as to ourselves.
When I think of you, I think the first vision I see is you on your knees, arms in the air in Kona, right? Yeah. That finish shot. And I'm sure that's something that when you go through tough times, I'm sure that's something that you draw on. How important, in terms of, like, we talk validation, you have a goal in life as an athlete to go to the Super Bowl, whatever it happens to be. In this case, it's to go to the Ironman, get there, to get on the podium, check that off, and to win the most important. I mean, there's 17 men in history have won the Ironman World Championship. How important is that to you as a goal you set as a young triathlete and to finally have achieved it? Is that something that you draw on?
Yeah, I do draw on it. It's something that my wife and I refer to all the time. I mean, we wouldn't have the nice house we have. We wouldn't be able to have the nice things that we've got at home, and if I hadn't had that big win. Right. So it's to feel validated that all those years of trying for that goal actually amounted to something tangible. Exactly. Incredibly fortunate as well, because so many sports, kayaking, I've got a lot of friends and family that do kayaking sort of events. I mean, every 4 years they go to the Olympics, and even if they won gold at the Olympics, they don't get that
not
golden
making a
egg.
living, yeah.
No, but they sacrifice everything and for not a lot of reward. And so many sports are like that. So yeah, I really feel fortunate that my goal, amounted to being able to, have a good life out of it.
Change your life.
Yeah, it changed my life, exactly. So we're reminded of it constantly. We remind each other of it all the time, how fortunate we were that I won and that it all came together. But it was a accumulation of 10 years of focusing on that and, learning and putting a lot of time and effort into figuring yourself out. It's a self-discovery. It's like you're, out there on your own for so many hours in training, talking to yourself, figuring yourself out. And it's a constantly evolving thing. And, it's really introspective sport where you have to know what makes you tick. You have to know yourself inside and out to be able to get the most out of yourself. And, those sort of sacrifices where you are just so focused on yourself and you're not really allowed to, spend too much time out just partying and letting loose and just sitting around doing nothing. There's a lot of time looking introspectively at yourself and what you're doing, and it's not always a pleasant view. So yeah, being able to see, to have that as a trophy, I guess. Yeah,
emotionally,
exactly,
physically,
exactly.
It's there all the time.
Exactly, it's a definite source of happiness. Yeah.
Thanks, Pete. Always a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you.
I think it's nap time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Pete Jacobs has been our guest again. This is Breakfast from Bahrain. It's a very late breakfast here in Bahrain. We're brought to you by Babbittville Radio. Check us out on iTunes. My name is Bob Babbitt. Hold on, everyone. We will be right back.